Trust the process. Pain is power. All great things take time. I am unbreakable. Unbreakable.
Hello everyone, welcome to the UnBreakables podcast, episode 13. I am your host, Jay, and this is my brother, my co-host, GiftThePoet.
Episode 13, we have the creator and host of The Passionate Few. He is a YouTube personality that interviews major figures in business and in sports, making a positive impact with a reach of over 93,000 subscribers and growing. The Passionate Few continues to humanize greatness by sharing stories that are centered with wisdom, with conviction, with goal clarification and success. And today we are honored to welcome on our show to the UnBreakable studio for the first time,
Omar Elattar.
Thank you guys for having me. Honored to be here. Thank you guys. I love the intro. Thank you, man.
Of course.
First
awesome.
and foremost, Omar, we just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to share your story on our platform.
Absolutely.
We knew it was just a matter of time that this would happen. And one, our goal is to dive into the minds and the souls of inspiring individuals like yourself.
Thank you.
And everybody knows you as Omar the rock star from The Passionate Few, right?
Yeah.
Now you're in the hot seat. So we
The
wanna,
tables have turned,
Yeah,
yes.
the tables have turned. We want to dive into who you were before The Passionate Few
Yeah.
and understand, your hardships, your failures, and your adversity.
Yeah.
So we'll start off, from your childhood to basically your upbringing and then transition into what led you to this very day.
Wow. Well, first of all, I'm honored to be here in your guys' beautiful studio. Thank you for having me and hosting the whole team here.
Absolutely.
You guys
Of
are
course,
doing
of
an amazing
course.
job, and I want to commend you guys for all this, because when you guys came to the podcast workshop, none of this was even
We had
existing.
nothing.
Not at all. Just
And
a thought.
Just a thought,
Just a
just a
thought.
dream. And I remember you guys looking at me with hopeful eyes. And, we talked about the power of taking imperfect action.
Yes.
You might not have all the pieces. We just interviewed Tarko Musa literally today on the way here from HGTV's Flip or Flop on the show. And he's saying, although millions of people watch the show Flip or Flop, when he started, he hadn't even flipped a single house. Literally just took imperfect action. So I want to honor you guys in that same spirit for taking imperfect action,
Thank you
making
very
your
much.
dream a reality. So I'm honored to be a part of it.
And we just want to say thank you as well for
Yeah.
providing us the tools, the strategies,
Mm-hmm.
and most importantly, the clarity.
Mhm.
Like we left there with such conviction where we were fired up.
Mhm.
And like we talked, right before the show, and we said, this is something we got to do. Despite, the cost, whatever it is.
Can't do
we're gonna
that. The
find a way.
limitations. How about this? I'm not
at all.
ready.
It's
da-da-da,
not
just
even a thought in our head.
boom,
Now
yeah.
we have the why, so it's like the how's going to come.
That's right, and that's how my show started. So thank you guys again. Basically, to deep dive into my story. Basically grew up, I would say middle income household. It wasn't poverty or anything like that. So I grew up in a very healthy household. And growing up, I always dreamed to do big things. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I never wanted to be an engineer or doctor or lawyer. I always wanted to be, if I played soccer, I wanted to be a professional soccer player. If I skated, I want to be a professional skateboarder. If I got into filmmaking, I want to be an actor. I want to be a movie star. I want to sign autographs. I want people to want to take photos with me. I want people to freak out when I walk in a room because I worked hard at something. Of course, as a kid, I didn't know how to articulate that.
Right.
But I always had a desire to do something special.
Something big, right?
Something big, something special. I didn't know quite how to do it. And so, like any kid, I just tried this and tried that, bumped into the walls. And, like I said, I played soccer until high school. And then I found skateboarding. And then as soon as I found skateboarding, I was like, whew, just like zoned in on skateboarding. And I would skate. My mom can attest to this, 6-7 hours a day, every day.
What was your first skateboard?
My first skateboard, man, I'm so glad you asked me that question, man. I was 12, and I begged my mom for the skateboard. Didn't get it right away, but my grandma and them, they put some money together, and it was like Christmas when I was 12. It was an Enemy skateboards. I went to the mall. It was an Enemy skateboards. It was Blue Royal trucks. For people who don't know skateboarding, probably won't know what that means, but for skateboarders, and it was some Spitfire wheels and Black
Nice.
Panther bearings.
Okay.
And I set up the grip tape, set up the board, And it actually turns out that I forgot the bearings initially. I didn't know that there was ball bearings. That's how new to skateboarding I was. But from the day I picked it up, it just took me on to this journey, and I was obsessed. I was like, all I want to do is ride a skateboard. I just want to skate. I want to be a pro skater. I want to watch skate videos. I want to watch skate magazines. I was obsessed in every sense of the word. So all I thought about, all I talked about, all I hung out with, all I did all day long. And I did that probably from the age of 12 till about 16, 17.
Who was your role model at the time?
P-Rod, Paul Rodriguez,
Nice.
who I actually had on the podcast, and that was surreal.
That was a good episode.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. Thank you. Got to connect with him, and you know, over the years I've become friends with people that I used to look up to, and it's a surreal thing. But you know, I hit a point where after high school I was getting older and I wasn't getting pro or going sponsors. Like, shit, what am I gonna do with my life? I was literally planning on being a pro skater. Like I would
Like
literally.
you were set on that. That was it.
Oh, I decided. Asked my mom, "What are you going to be, pro skater?" Like, don't tell our friends that when they come over. Just say you're going to college or something, you know.
So you already knew college was never in the plans for you.
Oh, absolutely not. Oh, to me, no. I'm going to sign autographs. I'm going to live my dream. I'm going to inspire people. Period. That just decided out of my pure delusion. Maybe I was smoking too much pot at the time. I don't know what it was. But then I graduate high school. I don't want to go to college. I hate college. But my parent, you know, the traditional thing, you know, and parents, I understand. They come from a world where they don't know YouTube. They don't know you can make money through these, you know, platforms or have an audience. And so I understood, but I was very like, oh, I don't want to go to college. Like, I want to live a dream. I want to do this. I want to do that. I ended up going for them. Hated every day of it.
Let's make that clear.
Yeah, hated every day of it. But I graduated somehow by the grace of God. But I hit a point where I was really depressed at that time because I was like, shit, like, I'm getting a degree, but I don't know what I want to do. I don't want to get a job. I don't want to work here. I'm getting too old to be a pro skater. That dream didn't happen. So what am I going to do? And here I'm in my 20s. Everybody has a plan. I'm in college. I'm like, shit, what am I going to do? Like, my aspirations for doing big things. Now I'm just a loser in college who's unhappy. I had acne on my face. Chicks were an enemy. I had all these like bones to pick with the world, and I just felt like I couldn't really connect with, you know, I've always been an intellectual, so couldn't really connect with, you know, family at home too much, couldn't connect with friends, couldn't connect with people my age, couldn't connect with chicks at the time, freaking acne. But, you know, I was just in a rough place, and so it was just cooking and cooking. I always wanted to do things, so I tried, you know, martial arts, and then I tried acting. I went through this exploratory phase of trying all these things. And fortunately, one of the things I tried in college was a radio show.
Really?
And yeah, talk about the power of pursuing your inspirations. And for everybody listening, I want to encourage you guys to pursue your inspirations, even if you have no clue where to lead. Because I'll never forget it. There was a guy in college who had a radio show, and nobody listened to it but like 12 people. And but I didn't care. I was like, oh my God, I just want to be, you know. So at the time, I started getting into like Howard Stern, and I loved the fact that Howard would just like
Very raw.
Yeah, very raw.
Expressive.
I would ask people real questions, you know, the questions that people want to know. You know, and what was your depression like? What was your first $1 million like? And I was like, whoa, like. And then I found out he makes $20 million a year doing it.
That's crazy.
So I was like, oh my God, maybe I could make millions of dollars doing what I've always done, talking to people.
So that's when it first sparked for you?
That's when I thought like, there was a seed of like possibility. I didn't know how that would manifest.
Yeah, and did that seed almost kind of pull you out of that dark, negative state in a way? It kind of showed you some light?
A great question, totally, because it just hooked my enthusiasm. And sometimes if you're depressed or lost or going through a rough time, all you need is something to give you hope. You know, for some people it could be getting a dog. You know, for some people it could be finding a hobby or a significant other, right? You just need something to just
Spark you.
Exactly, something to inspire you in the muck of all the shittiness you perceive to be happening in your life. And I remember I got so addicted to it, but it started because he had a radio show, and I was like, I messaged him on Facebook. I said, hey, his name is Chris Ventura. Shout out Chris Ventura. And he had a radio show, and so I messaged him on Facebook. I said, hey Chris, what's going on, man? I see that you have a radio show. Would it be possible if I come check it out? You know, just come take a look, hang out. And he was like, okay, like I don't really, like he was in my class, but he was like, I don't really know who you are, and like we barely met, but okay, kind of weird. So we connected. I went to his house. I was fascinated by the studio setup. I was fascinated by putting headphones on my ears and hearing my voice through an audio thing. I was like, whoa,
That's the first, right?
Yeah, it was like, whoa, like this is fun. And I remember, and I was like, he was like, you really like this, huh? And I was like, yeah. And I was like, dude, can we go live tonight? Like, do a show?
No way.
Yeah, I was just
Same night.
The power of imperfect action, right? Follow your inspiration, even if people think you're nutso. It worked. And so he's like, okay. But he was kind of on the fence. And one thing I've learned, if people are on the fence, offer them money. Okay? So I was like, here, I'll give you $20. He was like, okay. So we go live, we do a show. I think 3 people listened to it, one of which was probably like his mother. And we do the show, and I fall in love with it. I fall in love with the art of dialogue, and I don't know, something about the energy of pressure and an audience and questions and freedom, and no one can.
So you knew.
I just was, I love this.
So prior to that point, were you into personal and self-development?
At this stage, it started. I started listening to Tony Robbins, but I'll be honest with you, I was listening to it, wasn't doing anything about it though.
So it was just fluid. It was
Yeah, I would roll joints, smoke weed, and listen to Tony Robbins for hours at a time, and it didn't do anything for me, but make me feel better at the time. And I tell people, because a lot of people say, you know, don't consume personal development. What good is it going to all these seminars, reading all these books, you're not doing anything about? Well, it takes time. You gotta marinate on it. It takes
You also have to practice and implement as well.
That's right. And also, it might take years to understand what someone means. You know, you might read a book and not get it. But I remember even like my parents, you know, like my mom's in the audience, but and I understand where they're coming from, but they would always be like, well, why are you listening to all these audio tapes and all that? Now they, you know, oh, okay, that's why. But
it's like a education, right?
Yeah, you're slowly reprogramming the way of thinking in your mind.
Totally, and because I went to college for 4 years in a room with people teaching stuff I didn't give a shit about. I was like, how could anybody be mad at the fact that I'm listening to people tell me that I could live a positive life? And I was blown away that anybody would criticize personal development. So I wasn't doing anything with it, but I was just I loved it, and I started memorizing and learning. I wasn't doing anything about it, but I was consuming it, to answer your question. Yes.
Got you.
And then, we did one radio show, and then every week I was like, okay, Chris, can we do another one? And I would egg him on, and he would do once a week. And I was like, can we do it twice a week? And then I would pay him $75 a show. I was paying him to put me on this radio show in his makeshift thing when nobody was listening. I didn't care. I didn't give a shit if anybody was listening.
But it was giving you the experience.
It was
in a way.
It was fulfilling me. It was fulfilling my soul. And I think that Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook has an idea, or this concept where he says, not all ideas come out fully formed. And I believe that inspiration pulls us, but you have to have the courage to listen for the rest to reveal itself. You know, you don't see, his vision wasn't like, oh, let me create a multi-billion-dollar company with Facebook. It was like, oh, I like programming. Oh.
But it eventually leads and opens up those doors. It
snowballs over years. And that's how you can have this epic story that just started with a seed of inspiration.
So after Chris Venturi's making this ton of money off of you with this whole broadcasting thing, what happened after that? I mean, did you eventually start investing in your own equipment, or did you correlate a team to come together? What happened?
So another good question. So we did the show for a while, and then it started getting a little bit of buzz in college and amongst my friends that people would actually listen and call in. And I was like addicted, man. I was like, oh my God, people actually like it. At the time, it was probably like 27 people. I took it from 3 people to like 27. But people would tune in. Oh, when are you going live? And I just became addicted that my voice, my thoughts could appeal to people and speak to people. Hey, thank you so much. This inspired me. And I was like, oh my God, like I have to do this. So did it for a while. And then me and Chris had a falling out, just not over any personal stuff. Just he got busy, I got busy, whatever. So nothing happened for a few years. And then, you know, down the road, you know, you guys know the famous story about the significant other, the breakup at the time. I was dating this girl, and this was a couple years later. And between those couple of years, I'm a wreck. I'm lost, I'm frustrated, I'm unhappy again, I don't know what I want to do, I'm getting older.
You still had no direction, right?
No direction. Okay. And everyone's like, oh, I got an internship here, I got a job here, I'm so excited here. And I was just like, oh, fuck, this is boring. Everybody in college, I'm looking for inspiration. Hey, what are you inspired by? None of my classmates are inspired by anything.
So completely unfulfilled.
Completely unfulfilled, surrounded by people I was unfulfilled with. Can't relate to anybody in class, at home, my friend, you know? So, you know, to be honest, I started drinking a lot. I started smoking a lot. I started numbing the pain, started hanging out with people that probably aren't the best because of getting into that stuff. Not that I ever wanted that, but it just became like, fuck, that was my only way out. Yeah. You know, and I went through really rough times emotionally where I was like contemplated, you know, not that I would do commit suicide, but I was definitely like, like I have so much potential inside, but where do I let it out?
So I know
nobody gets me. What the fuck?
I know in one of your interviews with the Wolf of Wall Street, right?
Jordan Belfort, that
which
is surreal.
During that dark space in your life, you hated the world.
Yeah.
And you even thought of shooting up the place, right?
That was in high school. That was my senior year of high school.
How was that? Can you take us back a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was. I mean, not the easiest thing to admit on public platforms, especially with the Wolf of Wall Street. But yeah, basically, yeah, I was in a really rough point where I got into like studying serial killers, and I would want to read books, and I was fascinated by serial killers, and I sympathized with. I know this sounds crazy, so don't take it out of context. But I wouldn't say sympathize, maybe that's not the best word, but I could understand where they were coming from. Because people would always say, oh my God, how could somebody do something so heinous and hurt people, so crazy? But to be honest, I got to such a twisted place of intensity and depression that I could understand how someone would do it. Not that it's justified, but I could understand how inside of your own mind, you could feel like, fuck, this person doesn't get me, they don't get me, man, fuck them all, let's kill them all. Like, they killed all my dreams, all my hope. You know, like, nobody gets me, nobody understands me, like, fuck, like, I'll just kill them, you know? I know that's extreme, but I could...
But it's real life.
It's real life, and I started having thoughts like that because I didn't have, I didn't have gratitude at the dinner table with family. I didn't have, like, hey, honey, like, check out this personal development, but nobody was introducing me to concepts to empower my mind. Friends weren't, especially in high school. If anything, they were making it worse, and I was loaded with acne on my face, so no girls like me. So I wasn't wanted, didn't have friends, couldn't connect with anybody, and I'm an intense dude.
Yeah, you were connecting with your shadow side as well.
Exactly, and I had nowhere to channel that energy. And skateboarding is the only thing, honestly, that kept me semi-sane during that period. Skateboarding saved my life, literally.
So what was the turning point? What was that breakthrough that really got you out of that darkness?
Starting the podcast.
Starting it.
And the breakup, right?
Yeah, so they go hand in hand. So this was probably 2000 this is probably about 2000 not that long ago. So I graduated college probably about 2014. Was out of college for 2 years. My mom was like, what the hell, when are you gonna get a job? Broke as hell. I was broke for a long time. And I got a job at Tesla, I got a job in solar, selling door to door. I figured sales was the only way I could make money and have freedom. I love freedom. So I was like, how do I make a lot of money but have a lot of freedom? This is a tricky one. So I realized the world of sales. And so I got a bunch of odd sales jobs, knocked door to door, did that for a while, made great money, got comfortable, and then chilled. And then went from solar to working at Tesla, did that for a while. And then I met this girl that I started dating, and I hadn't been in a lot of relationships, I didn't have a lot of experience, so when someone liked me for my intellect, I was like, oh my God, it was like smitten,
All in, right?
I was all in. And in retrospect, it wasn't even that the person was so awesome, it was just that I needed to be loved, I needed to be understood so bad, and all these years nobody gets me. Finally somebody that thinks I'm brilliant, I'm all in. And boy, did I learn a lesson about that. So we dated for probably a couple months, maybe 6, 7, 8 months or something like that. It was long distance, so didn't even see them too much. And I was all in, and she's like, I love you, all this,
Pretty much everything that you wanted to hear.
Great way to put it. Everything I wanted to hear, and so anybody who cares about me at that time, I'm all in. And in retrospect, not a compatible person at all, but it was just better than nothing, in my head at the time. And so we start dating, and things are going to what I perceive to be great. And then out of nowhere, we get in some fights out of nowhere. Hey, you know what? I'm sorry, I can't do this. This isn't right for me. I'm out, just like that. Just calls me one day. I'm out.
Over the phone?
Over the phone. Never saw her again. Till this day, that was it.
And you were left heartbroken, broke,
I was devastated.
miserable.
I was walking out of the gym. I was in yoga, right? To tell you how rough of a place I was doing yoga for peace. I walk out of the gym, and I start getting anxiety. And I don't know why. But I'm like, what the fuck? So I start getting anxiety, really intense anxiety. And then as I'm walking out of the gym with that anxiety, she's calling me. And I'm like, oh, shit. That's probably the anxiety is probably connected to that call.
Connection.
So I answer the call, and she's like, hey, and she's crying. She's like, hey, I'm sorry, there's something I have to tell you. I'm like, oh, fuck. Breaks up with me right then and there. That was it. I sat on the stairs and cried. And cried and cried and cried. Went to my cousin's house, smoked more weed than it was humanly possible for me to smoke at the time to numb the pain. And I was just in tears, devastated. I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat, I couldn't think straight. Days went on. And it was a really rough point, you know. I was like, fuck, man, like, fuck. And not only that, like now I'm 27. This isn't that long ago. At the time, I'm like 23, 24. So I'm starting to get up there in my 20s. I'm graduating college. I hated college. Still can't relate to anybody. Frustrated because I have all this potential inside. Been out of college for like 2 years now. My mom's like, when the hell are you going to get a job? You know, instead of these sales jobs that you pop in and out of. So the pressure is like mounting and mounting. I'm drinking, I'm smoking, and she breaks up with me. So I'm like, fuck, I'm like in rock bottom. And I'll never forget it. There was one night where I was so livid. Again, I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't drink, nothing. And so there's this Starbucks by my house. And I go to the Starbucks, recurring theme here, I light this joint. And I say, you know what, I'm gonna smoke this joint, and after this joint, I'm gonna change my fucking life, like right here. And I listened to Tony Robbins, and I'll never forget the quote that changed my life and echoed into the existence of everything I do. It says, nothing in life has any meaning except the meaning that I give it. Nothing in life has any meaning except the meaning that I give it. And I just remember I heard it, and like time stood still. I was like, whoa. Like I can sit here and language this breakup as pain, why my life sucks, why this, or I can say, you know what, I'm gonna use this as motivation. You know, fuck it, I'm gonna prove her wrong.
I'm gonna fuel you.
Yeah, I'm gonna let her feel. I'm gonna show her I'm the fucking man. I'm gonna show her what a fucking regret that was for her leaving. I'm gonna fucking prove to her. I'm gonna prove to my parents. I'm gonna prove to everybody. I'm gonna be a fucking success. I don't know fucking how, but tonight's the night. Shit changes. And literally it was like fucking intense. I was alone, smoked this joint, get high as hell, go into Starbucks, and I'm like crying, and I'm like writing this notebook. I still have the notebook, and there's like tears dripping on it to this day. There's like water spots from my tears on the notebook, and I'm writing like, I see myself doing this, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this. I had, at the time, I probably had like $800 to my name, and I call Dave Thorpe, shout out Dave Thorpe, life coach. Dave's been my life coach for a couple years now, and I got recommended to him by a friend. Literally had no money, like this was the last of my money.
That was it.
That was it, that was it. Pay him X amount of money to for a coaching call. We hop on a call for 1 hour, we're talking. Actually, we hopped on a call for a little bit, and he said, I'll tell you what, you sound like you're in a rough spot, come meet me. So I'm like, all right. But that night at Starbucks, so I met him like later, like a couple days later. But that night at Starbucks, I'm like writing and writing and writing. I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna prove people wrong, I'm gonna show her. And then Dave Thorpe, the life coach, a couple days later, when I'm off this like inspired high, like I'm gonna change the world, he tells me, Omar, what would you do if life was perfect? Forget the rules, forget logic, forget about money. If life was perfect, what would you do? I was like, oh shit, if life was perfect.
Big question, huh?
Yeah, I was like, and I think that's why questions are powerful, and coaches are powerful, because they give you permission for possibility that you might not even give yourself.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, he said, if life was perfect, what would you do? And there was no restriction. And I was like, well, if life was perfect, I would spend time with multimillionaires and multi-billionaires and just ask them questions and somehow make millions of dollars doing it. That's what I would do. And he goes, okay, well, how are we going to do that? I was like, what do you mean, how are we going to do that? He was like, that dream's in you for a reason. How are we going to do it? And he didn't let me off the hook. He would not let me leave the table until I figured out just some plan. What's your plan? Give me a plan. And I was like, oh, shit, I don't know, Dave. And he goes, okay, well, let's write down some ideas. Let's write down 10 ideas. So I said, well, okay, well, get a radio show. He goes, okay, write that down. So I was like, okay, I see myself getting a radio show. I was like, okay, what else? I was like, well, maybe I could do a podcast. He goes, okay, write that down. Okay, I see myself doing a podcast. What else? Maybe I could pitch a show for TV. Okay, write that down. So I'm just so all the way down. Maybe start a YouTube show. Okay.
So the whole prophecy, right?
The prophecy. So I write down all this stuff, and he goes, okay, based on those, which one are the most realistic that you can control and act on right now? And the only thing that worked was YouTube and podcast. And he goes, okay. He goes, are you going to do it? And I was like, I guess I have to, Dave. And he's like, okay, how are you going to do it? And we set a date. He's like, when's your first episode launching? I was like, I don't even have anybody to interview. I don't know, what about this? Well, I don't have any money. I don't know. Blah, blah, blah. He goes, when's your first episode launch? Pick a date and time. We'll figure out the rest later. And I was like, September 1st.
So we held you accountable. That's
right. I said September 1st at 12 p.m. I said September 1st. He goes, what time? I said 12 p.m. He was like, okay, write that down.
How long did you have? What was the turnaround time? Yeah, from that time.
Probably like 2-3 months. Probably like 2-3 months. But I literally had no money, no experience. Till this day, I don't even know how to turn on a camera.
Yeah.
So what was your strategy?
wing it.
Okay.
So we wrote down this prophecy. You know, I see myself interviewing multimillionaires. I see myself with millions of fans around the world. I see myself inspiring people I've never met before. I see myself walking into rooms that people want to take pictures with me because of the impact of my show. I see myself befriending legends. I see myself skateboarding with P-Rod. I just wrote it down and wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote. And he would not let me leave. I love Dave. Shout out Dave. You changed my life, Dave. Thank you. And he would not let me leave until I was done writing, till the front and back of the page was done. I see myself this, I see myself making millions of dollars, I just write it down. And when we were done, he had me read it 3 times, over and over, and he goes, and I want you to close your eyes and I want you to see this happening. I want you to see yourself shaking hands with people. I want you to see the cameras. I want you to see millions of people watch. I want you to see it. And I was just like, man, this is the best money I've ever spent. So
it's a lifetime of coaching right there.
Yeah,
right?
so we did that. It was like an hour and a half. And we finished up the sesh, and I drove home just like on a high, like, okay, like.
You found that motivation and that inspiration that you were seeking that whole time.
I was like, all right, let's do this. Let's prove this ex-girlfriend wrong.
Nice.
You know, that was at the time. And she liked 3 people. She loved hot Cheetos, ate them religiously. She also loved Quest bars. She was into health and yoga and fitness. She loved Quest bars. And she introduced me to Grant Cardone.
Oh, so she introduced you to Grant Cardone?
She worked in a sales job.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
she was into Grant Cardone. I was like, who's this Grant Cardone guy? She would always have these books and like, oh, check out this audio from Grant Cardone. So she liked hot Cheetos, Quest bars, and Grant Cardone. Fast forward 6 months later, I was persistent enough to chase down, stalk, relentlessly message the creator of hot Cheetos, who's now become a good friend of mine, creator of Quest bars, the billion-dollar founder of Quest Nutrition, and Grant Cardone, who I'll be with on Monday and I've now interviewed 3 times.
Nice.
And within 6 months, I had the most watched and downloaded YouTube and podcast interview in the whole world with all of them.
It's amazing. That is amazing.
Because my motivation at the time was like, all right, like pardon my language, but all right, bitch, you want to break up with me? You don't want my fucking time? Watch who wants my fucking time.
Yeah.
And I meant it.
And that's a huge accomplishment.
Thank you guys so much.
Huge accomplishment.
Now, Omar, you mentioned...
It was spite, but it worked.
Yeah, no, definitely. And that's like Frank Sinatra. He says that the greatest taste of success or the greatest taste of revenge is success.
That's right. The best revenge is
So,
massive success, yes.
I do have to tell you, you mentioned Tesla, you mentioned solar. Where does Fantasy Factory and Rob Dyrdek fit in all of
great
this?
question. We're actually doing a video sharing that. So that was actually a little win I did have in college.
Okay.
That was probably my only win in college, to be honest with you.
That's a big win.
Definitely. And you know what? I'm glad you brought that up because that showed me that these big people are just like me and you. And that was the first time that I really, you might hear that and be like, oh yeah, I know they're.
Because I know you mentioned that a lot today.
Yes.
They're just ordinary people just like us.
That's right. The only difference is instead of going, oh, I wish, they stood up and went, you know what? Fuck it, I'm going to try.
Yeah.
That's the only difference at any age. And so this is actually another funny story. So this was in college in the midst of my unhappiness. Everyone was getting internships and jobs and stuff. And part of the credentials or the credits were that you needed to get an internship. And so I was like, fuck, man, I got to get an internship. Everybody's like, oh, I'm at this company. And I'm like, fuck, none of this sounds inspiring to me. None of this sounds better than being a pro skater. And then at the time, I was in a really rough spot, and I was smoking cigarettes a lot. God, I don't know how I did that in retrospect. Shout out Coachy. And I was smoking cigarettes at the time, and I wanted to stop, so I started doing karate, MMA, because I felt like that would somehow trick. I'm all about gamifying stuff.
Replacing it, right?
Yeah, I'm all about like, how can I make it fun to do? Even now, like I'm working on my fitness, I'm like, how can I make it fun? How can I make money and enjoy the process? I'm trying to have my cake and eat it too and sell it at the same time. I don't know, I'm crazy. And so I was like, okay, how could I quit smoking and enjoy the process? So I started doing karate and MMA and stuff. And my sensei, one day after we were meditating, my sensei said, hey Omar, you seem like you're stressed. Check out this book. And it was a book about Buddhism. And so I started getting really into Buddhism and the philosophies of Buddha. And I just started becoming really zen. I started meditating. This is when I started getting into my like earthy stuff. And basically there was a concept about your greatest pain is your greatest asset.
Yes.
If you'll just internally listen. And the pain is always a gift. As true to your UnBreakables podcast.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so in the pain of my frustration, I was meditating one day, and this meditative voice was like, get an internship in skateboarding, or who says I can't intern in skateboarding? Yeah, just a seed of like, okay, you need to get an internship. What if you enjoy the internship? What if it didn't have to suck?
Yeah.
What if this opened your career? Maybe you didn't become a pro skater, but maybe you work in the skate industry. That's not so bad. And so I went home, and as a recurring theme here, I had a couple beers, smoked a joint. This was my creative process of brainstorm. And I wrote down this list of all these skate companies I could work for or intern for. I wrote down Volcom, Quicksilver, Vans, Nike, SB. Like I wrote down all these different skate companies because I was obsessed with skateboarding. And I was just on a frenzy. I started emailing, hey, are you guys hiring? Hey, internship, da-da-da. So I probably had a list of 50, got too high to message all of them, but I probably messaged about half of them, about 20 or 30. In the morning, I woke up to 2 emails back, ended up getting 1 interview with Flip Skateboards.
Oh, wow.
And crazy thing back, shout out Andrew Shusterman. But I get an interview in classic Omar fashion. I'm late to the job interview.
No way.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
How late?
Late. Fashionably late. But my plan was to call 5 minutes before and say I took a wrong exit. Yeah. And so I do that. I go to the interview. I blow it, but I hit it off with the guy. But I think because the fact I was late, I already kind of didn't get the job.
Of course.
So we hit it off. We end up talking, and he goes, "Okay, Omar, thank you for coming. I'll let you know how you did in a couple days. We'll be in touch, and I'll let you know if you got the job." I was like, "Okay, perfect." It was an internship. But I'm just excited to be there. You know, it's skateboarding. I'm like, oh my God, I'm amazed. On the way in, I met a pro skater. I'm like, hi, nice to meet you. And so about 2-3 days later, he messages me and says, hey, Omar, thank you so much for coming in for the interview. Unfortunately, we ended up giving the job to somebody else. But thank you for applying. You got a good head on your shoulders. You're a great communicator. I'm sure you'll have a very successful career ahead of you. Thank you for applying. And I was like, I was so mad. But interestingly, I had that day, I was extra like meditating and Zen and like Buddhism, and so I was in such a Zen place that I responded to the email, and I was like, thank you, hey Andrew, thank you so much for having me come down and do the interview. Although I didn't get the job, I'm so grateful that you allowed me to come in, and I'm happy to put my best foot forward next time, and congratulations on finding the right person for the job. By the way, let me know if there's anything I could do to increase my skill sets and quality. I would love to come apply, and also I'm happy to volunteer if you ever need a backup. So grateful that you communicated with me, and I'm so happy that you found your team, and I look forward to reapplying later.
Wow.
And I'll never forget it. He wrote me an email back. He wrote, wow, I've never had someone respond to not getting a job so nicely.
That's the first,
with
right?
gratitude as well.
I know,
Gratitude,
definitely
that's right.
with gratitude.
And offering
Gratitude.
value and service.
And offering value and service, totally. But this is why I believe, to this day, I believe meditation has changed my life, because meditation allows me to see with a third eye. It allows me to feel the future. And I feel the future.
It's important.
And so I'll never forget, I responded with that email. I meditated, because at first I was like, fuck, that's all I really want to write back. But I meditated on it, reflected, and I was super Zen, positive, whatever, deluding myself to make myself feel better, whatever. And he writes me back, wow, I've never had anybody message me that nice, not getting the job. Stay in touch. I might have an opportunity for you soon. I was like, okay, cool, thank you. Thought nothing of it. A couple weeks went by. I'm sitting in class in college, contemplating, just freaking standing up and walking out of class because I hate college. And I get an email from the Fantasy Factory. Hey, what's going on, Omar? Rob Dyrdek at the Fantasy Factory looking for.
Wait, from him personally?
It was from his team and office, but it wasn't from Rob personally. Looking for an intern, heard you had a great head on your shoulders. Are you available to come interview next week? So I was like, absolutely. They gave me a time that was exactly the time of my class, didn't care about my class. Went to the interview. Till this date, that might be the only thing I've ever been earlier on time for in my life.
Oh, shoot.
I pull up to the Fantasy Factory. Joyce, the driver, can attest to that. And so I pull up to the Fantasy Factory. I'm like super early, super on point. And in my head, I know everything about skateboarding. I'm like,
got it. Sold. That's it.
cakewalk. I got this in the bag. I go in, do the interview, nail it. Not even worried about it. 3 days later, I get an email back saying, hey, congratulations, you were selected. And I literally start crying. I'm like, thank you, God. I needed this. So that year, I ended up interning for Rob at the Fantasy Factory, traveling all over the country, all expenses paid. Got to hang out with the top pro skateboarders in the world, people that I looked up to in skate videos. Now I'm like with them. Got to go to Nike World Headquarters. My dream was always to be a Nike athlete. And I go to Nike World Headquarters. All the pro skaters are there signing autographs.
No way.
Yeah, and I'm like, God damn, I came so close to my dream, but I'm not the one signing autographs. I was actually the volunteer setting up the posters and the Sharpies.
You're one step closer, though.
One step closer, but the dream was over. So I was between happy and depressed at the same time. I'm like, God damn, I came so close to my dream. Come on, God. And so I'm the volunteer that like these pro skaters are living their dream. Girls are into them. They're signing autographs, taking photos, skating. I'm like, I wanted that so bad. But I'm seeing it live. I'm seeing all the people that I looked up to in magazines and videos and looked up to. They're in front of me, like they're right there. And I was organizing who sat where. I'm like, all right, P-Rod, you sit here. You know, Eric
Sitting right next to me.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a good seat for you, Paul, right here. And I set up their Sharpies and everything. And then I was the guy who, you know, the kids that were in line, I was the security guy, like, hey guys, wait, please. Okay, proceed. So I'm like so close to my dream, but I'm the one facilitating it for them. You know, so it was this weird thing about I was close to people who were living my dream, and it inspired me and hurt me so bad at the same time. But I swore to myself during that experience, I was like, the next dream, I'm not going to let it go. I'm not going to let it go. I don't know what it is, God, universe, Buddha, whatever. It's like, I don't know what it is, but I swear that next dream, I'm not going to fuck it up. Because I fucked up the skate one.
Yeah, of course.
You know? So when the podcast came around, as you guys can see now, over 5 million listeners, built a beautiful business around it and have an amazing team. Sat down with people I never even would have dreamed of, and the show's, 100,000 subscribers at the moment, like just about to eclipse that. So I swore that the next thing, I'm gonna go all in. And you fast forward a couple years later when I started the podcast out of spite, I went all in.
You did it.
All in.
That is amazing. So let's fast forward.
Mm-hmm.
You got Tom, right, as your third
Tom Billy, yes.
guest, right?
Yeah, $1 billion founder of Quest Bars, yeah.
Now, was there anyone that you interviewed and got turned down that you really wanted?
Oh, everybody.
So what did you do? You just kept persisting.
I was relentless. I mean, funny story, the creator of Hot Cheetos, he's become a good friend now. He's called me the other day in the middle of my therapy session. My therapist was like, really? Put it on speaker. Normally they wouldn't want it to be interrupted. But yeah, I mean, it was, because to me, even now, like my mom thinks I'm nuts, but like even now I'm like, it's not like I want to, I will. I will interview Tony Robbins. I will interview the creator of Hot Cheetos. I will interview President Obama. I will interview President, I have no clue how. No clue how.
It's going to happen.
No clue how, but it's going to happen. There's a quote in Think and Grow Rich. It says that nothing can deny the human soul that will stake even its existence to its attainment. And so I firmly believe that the universe, you know how people pull rope? I believe that the universe pulls rope.
Yes.
And if you just keep pulling, the universe sooner or later will go, all right, fuck it, you really want this, fine. Somebody's got to become a millionaire. Somebody's got to interview, like the way I look at it is like this, like whatever, so one of my major things is doing $10 million in a year in personal income, right? It's the next metric I have. And so the way I look at it is like, okay, somebody's going to do that.
So why not me?
Yeah, period. Somebody who has 2 hands, 2 eyes, a nose, is going to do it, made of the same skin that I am. It's going to happen. Someone's going to make that amount of money. Somebody's going to interview tons of people. Somebody's going to inspire millions of people around the world. I'm going to do whatever it fucking takes to make sure it's me. And everybody can have theirs too, but for my dream, I'm going to make sure that happens, period. I don't know how, I don't know when, I don't know why, but I just know if I take the steps, the right people will show into my life, the right rejections will happen that'll make me stronger, the right doubters will be there, the right audience will come, and here we are, 5 million, a little over 5 million people later.
Now, in order to get a mindset like this, do you do daily affirmations, or how do you get rid of the doubt and a lot of that negativity?
'Cause at the end of the day, you're human.
True. Well, to be honest, it evolves through stages. At this stage, I'm in such momentum with my team, and I've become friends with all these people that now it's like, if I have a question about apparel, I can text Randall Pitch from LiftFit. If I have a question about taxes and legal, I have plenty of multimillionaire friends who are like, oh, do this, do that.
So you're utilizing and using your resources. And
I think if there's one thing, you asked a great question right now about, what do I do to stay positive? I ask a lot of questions. And I have always been the type of person to vocalize my insecurities. I think most people don't. And I think as a result, they end up becoming trapped by their insecurities. But I'm not afraid to say, like, hey, like Kevin, our audio engineer, he's been with us for 3 years now. Superstar. Shout out Kevin Taruya. He's the man. Much smarter than I am. And Kev is like, when we met 3 years ago, I was meditating with my buddy Brian, and this is when I was just starting the podcast, and I was literally like, we got done with the meditation, and my brain was like, all right, I'm more time to act on the podcast, but I don't know anybody, I don't have any money, how am I going to afford equipment? I don't have anybody, I don't know who does video, who does edit, I don't know any of this shit. And I got out of a meditation, my buddy Brian, I was like, hey Brian, do you know anybody who does podcasts or video or audio or anything? He's like, oh, I have a buddy named Kevin. He does podcast audio. I'm like, perfect. It's like 11 o'clock at night at this stage. He's like, yeah, I know this guy Kevin. So I'm like, all right, perfect. Do you have his number? He's like, yeah. I'm like, call him. He's like, right now it's 11 o'clock. And see, I think this is where most people go wrong. Most people apply the average logic. They don't strike when the idea is hot and the emotion is strong.
So they wait.
They wait. Because logic would say, oh, cool, can you send me his number? I'll give him a call in a few days. Or I'll talk to him next week. Or it's a little late, I don't want to be disrespectful, right? But I was like, fuck all that, call him right now. He didn't answer, call him again. We called at 11 o'clock at night, and Kevin answered the phone. He's like, hello? Like, why you guys call, hello? And,
who is this?
Yeah, and my buddy Brian's like, hey Kev, I have a guy here who wants to do a podcast, and he has some questions, can you help him? And he was like, yeah. I grabbed the phone. I'm like, hey Kev, what's going on, man? My name's Omar. You don't know me yet, but we're gonna start a podcast together. What are you doing tomorrow morning? And he's like, I don't know. I was like, all right, you're hanging out with me. We're going to Sam Ash. What time are you free? I'll pick you up. We'll go buy all the equipment, whatever you need, whatever. Borrowed money from my parents. Shout out mom and dad. Borrowed a couple $100 to buy equipment.
Did you ever pay him back?
Oh yeah. Oh,
that's
they're
mom
happy
and dad.
now. I took my mom to meet Tariq Musa, right, from HGTV, Flip or Flop. I've never seen my mom more happy in her life. So little moments like that feel great. But yeah, anyway, so I call Kevin, show up the next day, right? This is the power of taking imperfect, inspired action.
Right.
And I'm running. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm running, doing it, And so we meet up, we end up working together, and here we are with $10 billion worth of entrepreneurs and interviews later.
$10 billion.
That is amazing. You just got to shine light on that.
Yeah, Kev's been with us like 3 years now. Kev's been with me through every single interview.
And you managed to build a team, a successful team at that.
An amazing team. And God bless me with this team.
That is awesome.
Omar, my sister asked a good question. She asked, how do you react when people turn you down? Good and question. I have a question to piggyback on that.
Cool.
Because you just interviewed Patrick Bet David.
That's right.
After a year
That's
of
right.
continuously messaging him and getting turned down. So how do you keep that momentum and that positivity in that aspect as far as, getting rejected, but you continue on and you follow up?
Yeah. You guys asked some good stuff. I read a Steve Jobs biography, and one thing in the book he talks about is his reality distortion field. Basically, the concept of reality distortion field is you delude yourself into believing your own bullshit, for lack of a better expression, that just by sheer consistency of living in it, the universe starts to kind of be like, all right, fuck it, I guess he's so certain, we'll just give it to him. I firmly believe, I know it sounds nuts, but I firmly believe that if you do that over a sustained enough period of time, things will start to unfold, things will start to happen. So I don't really spend a whole lot of time feeling bad about rejection.
Right.
I just sort of gamify it. Oh, he said no, like, okay, can't wait till he says yes and we joke about this next year over dinner. Well, yeah, or just gamify it. I soften it in my head. I cushion it, I soften it. Also at this stage we have a lot of momentum. But to go back to the rejections, for example, creator of Hot Cheetos, I'll give you 3 stories real quick about those first 3. Creator of Hot Cheetos. I messaged him, emailed him, followed him on Facebook, messaged his kids, his wife, his son, he has 2 sons, messaged all of them, Instagram messaged all of them, emailed them, probably in the ballpark of 20 to 30 times total. I drove 2 hours. I'll never forget, after an interview I believe I was with Kevin at the time. And we drove 2 hours to go see him speak, rejected me on all those times online, went to see him speak in person, rejected me.
How long was this process?
Creative Hot
The
Cheetos
time
took
frame?
probably 18 months. Took a while.
Wow.
Took a while.
You better start now. No.
took a while. And he rejected me, and then I went again, rejected me, kept messaging him, rejected me. And then finally the third time, he's like, Jesus Christ,
You
man,
won't
you
give
don't
up.
give up. He's like, okay, I'll do your freaking interview, you know? So
It was an amazing interview, by the way.
Thank you so much.
Amazing interview.
Thank you so much. And I'm honored because the other day he called me, Eva Longoria set to direct his film. And I was like, dude, you got to connect me with Eva Longoria for an interview, man. You got, Desperate Housewives, I'm a fan. And he's like, I'll see what I can do. But think about that. Think about that. I'm a broke kid, high as hell, lost, broken up with. How the hell did I go from that to connecting to these people, to now they're friends of mine, to now he has a movie coming out, to Eva Longoria, Flip or Flop. I've interviewed billionaire John Paul DeJoria, built a beautiful business. It's thriving and doing amazing, an audience of 5 million people, a team, like, what?
But it was mindset too.
It was relentless, imperfect action.
That
Relentless. I'm just a random dude. I'm not a millionaire. I'm not fit. I'm not particularly good looking. I'm a regular dude who just had this fire inside that was just like, I'm going to push it. And, a lot of rejections, a lot of failures. Nobody listened to the first couple podcasts for a long time. It's the type of thing, when you have friends, you're like, hey, I make music, you give it to them, and they're like, yeah, that's great. But like,
Toss it.
You don't know if it's
you
good
don't
or
know
not.
if they're telling you that because they're your friend. But, so I didn't know who's blowing smoke. At this stage, the other day when we went to go interview Patrick by David, people are stopping me to take photos with me. Like, oh, dude, big fan, oh my God. And I'm like, what the hell? How did I go from being a broke lost dude? These people are inspired to want to take photos. I have fans all over the world. People tell me to come to Brazil, come to Canada. I'm like, what? How does that happen? But literally it was because I was relentless. And when I showed up to interview the creator of Hot Cheetos, for those that don't know his story, he was a janitor working at Frito-Lay, making $3 an hour. And he pitched the CEO of Frito-Lay on Hot Cheetos, which ended up becoming a multi-billion-dollar product, making him hundreds of millions of dollars. But I told him, when I approached him that third time, right, change your approach when you're persistent. I said, Mr. Montañez, I said, look, I want to interview you, but between me and you, I know you're going to say no. I know you said no a million times. And he goes, but consider me the young man you once were who was looking for a chance. Just like you asked for a chance to make Hot Cheetos to the CEO, consider me the young man you once were, and this is my opportunity.
How do you say no to that?
He did.
Just like that.
Exactly. But see, had I not had the relentless desire, the creativity to try that, wouldn't have popped up. Commitment comes first, creativity comes second. And so that was that story, and then that interview blew up. Second one with Tom, I messaged him probably like 20 times. I was relentless. And then literally one day, talk about the universe. I believe that the universe makes it easy if you're willing to go through the hard.
Absolutely.
And it might take more time than you think. It might not linearly, success is not an upward thing. It's a very like
spaghetti.
Yeah,
Spaghetti
spaghetti
diagram.
up, down, low, broke. I've had months where I made the most money in my life, and then I had the least money in my life 30 days later. So it's a very non-linear thing. And so when I went to interview Tom, or when I reached out to him, this is you gotta understand, he created $1 billion company. It's the second fastest growing company in North America at this time. And literally, like, he said no so many times, and then I messaged him one more time. He goes, all right, dude, I'll give you your interview. Here's my address in Beverly Hills. Here's my assistant's phone number. Can you come Tuesday at 4 a.m?
Just like that.
Just like that. He gave me everything I wanted. It's like, okay, to this day, and I've interviewed Tom twice, become great friends with him, text him. He's become a good friend of mine. Grant Cardone, here's the third story. Grant Cardone, my ex really liked Grant Cardone. So I was like, let's have fun with this one. So this is probably 2017, not that long ago, but two and a half years ago. I'm at home, and I live in LA. Grant lives in Miami, Florida. And for those that don't know, Grant Cardone's he has a $1 billion, $1.2 billion portfolio in real estate. Big guy. Shout out Grant. Going to be with him on Monday. And so he's in town from Florida, and I see on Instagram that he's in Beverly Hills with his wife having a good time. So I'm like, the stalker in me.
Right?
The stalker in me goes,
Kevin, where are you? No.
Yeah. No, I was alone this day, and so I drive from my house to Beverly Hills in traffic. Takes about 2 hours because I see that Grant is at the gym. So I'm like, what if I just show up and ask him for an interview to be on the YouTube show? I'm like, fuck it, let's roll the dice. Got nothing better to do, just smoke pot. And so I drive 2 hours to Beverly Hills to go to the gym he's at, because I see on his Instagram story that he's in Beverly Hills. So I'm like, I'm just gonna walk in there, pretend I'm in the gym, and be like, oh, hey, Grant, I didn't know you were here.
By the way.
By the way, I have, that was my genius plan. Fortunately, I didn't bring anybody with me because they would have thought I was nuts. So I drive 2 hours there, go into the gym, and then I walk in the gym, and then I check his Instagram story, and he already left to go have lunch. So I'm like, damn, I am stupid. So I'm like, man, what am I gonna do? Go to the restaurant now? So I'm just like, you know what? Maybe it wasn't meant to be. Right? So I drive back, and the whole drive home, I'm thinking, but man, if I got him, if I just went to that restaurant, they might do it.
You should have.
Drive all the way back. The plot thickens. Hang tight. So drive back an hour. So now I'm 3 hours into this trip this day, right? Get home. As soon as I pull in at home, I see on his Instagram story, he's talking about something in real estate or something. And then Elena in the background, I hear her saying like, hey babe, I made reservations at 7 for Beverly Hills dinner at this restaurant. I forget what it was. Cantor's or something? I forget what it was, but it was a restaurant in Beverly Hills at 7 o'clock. And it's faintly in the background of his Instagram story. So I play that Instagram story so many times. I look up the address of this restaurant in Beverly Hills on Google. I'm nuts. And but I'm at home. Keep in mind, I drove 2 hours, and I drove an hour back. So I'm like, fuck, am I gonna drive back now? So I drove back. So I talked to my pops was there, and I said, hey Dad, you think I should do this? And he was like, I don't know. He's like, but try it, roll the dice. Shout out Dad, thank you for encouraging me to do that. So drive another 2 hours in traffic again. So here I am 5 hours into this trip. I'm exhausted, and then in my head I'm like, man, this is so dumb. Why this is not gonna work? I can't believe my life has come down to this. I should have listened to my parents. Man, maybe I should get a job.
So just second guessing yourself.
Third and fourth and fifth guessing myself at this time, yeah. So I drive down to Beverly Hills. I go to the restaurant. I park outside and I wait. And I wait and I wait and I wait. So 7 o'clock rolls around. I go inside. It's a restaurant I can't afford at the time. Probably couldn't even afford a cup of water there. Water's free. So I go in, walk in there, and I'm kind of she's like, oh, do you have a table reservation? I'm like, oh yeah, they'll be here shortly. I don't know. So I walk in and I'm like, oh, where's your restroom? They're like, oh, it's all the way in the back. I'm like, perfect. So I go to the restroom. Of course, I'm taking the long way. I'm scoping out the place. I'm trying to look for where Grant and his wife are, right? Nothing happens. So I'm in the restroom. I'm peeking out the door. I'm waiting.
Into the stalls.
Yeah, I was like, you know what? Maybe God will reward me and he'll come take a piss while I'm in the maybe. My luck's been pretty good thus far. Right? So I'm waiting in there, and again, I'm an idiot. This is stupid. I walk out of the restroom, and then right there in the corner, I see them. I hear his voice, and I see him. I'm like, yes. So I go outside, and I wait probably for about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. Damn. Every time the door opens, my heart's beating. Is it him? Is it him? No, it's not. Okay. Door opens. Oh, is it? No, it's not. And I'm standing by the door of the restaurant, looking for a chance. Finally, 2 hours later, him and his wife walk out with people, and at this stage, I'm walking up to them. I'm just I don't know what I'm gonna. I remember so vividly that I was trembling with anxiety. My heart is beating out of my chest. I have zero clue what I'm gonna say. My mouth's dry. I have no money. Don't even have my wallet, let alone anything in it, even if I did have it. My phone battery's dying. I'm not in a good. My mouth's dry and sweaty and wearing shitty clothes.
She had no plan at that point.
No plan. No plan. So I'm God damn. So I'm walking. I remember everything in me was scared, but I'm just keep taking steps towards him, and the words will come out. So I went up to him, and they were with people, and I was awkwardly just standing there, and then he turns around. I'm like, hey Grant. He's like, hey, what's up, man?
Ballet? No.
Yeah, I'm ballet. Yeah, I'm yeah, you're recording. And no, so I'm so I just spit the whole thing. Hey Grant, what's going on, man? My name's Omar. I'm a big fan of everything you do with the 10X. Thank you so much. I just want to let you know I drove 2 hours here. Can I take a quick photo with you and Elena? It would mean a lot to me. You guys have inspired me a lot, and your success and all this. He goes, you drove 2 hours to be here? And I was like, something like that. And he was like, God damn, yeah, let's take a photo. So I took a photo with him and his wife, and they're like, oh, where are you from? What's your story? We start chit-chatting. I say, and then this is probably the single most powerful thing I ever did that totally changed the trajectory of my life and my business and my income forever. I said, God, it's so crazy to think back. I said, I brought up all the objections, right? Because I've gotten so many no's and rejections at this stage from, oh, your podcast is not big enough. Who are you? Are you even a multimillionaire yet? Are you, what credibility do you have?
No
Who else have you had on your show? Do you have any followers? How many subscribers? At the time, it was probably like 100 subscribers, nothing. And so I gave him the pitch. I brought up all the objections I could think of first, right? The power of pressure. So I say, hey, Grant, by the way, thank you for letting me take a photo, but by the way, I have a podcast, and I know you would normally say no because I have such a small following, and I know you guys are in town, and I know you're super busy, and I know you have every reason in the world to tell me no, but.
Take notes, guys.
So I'm bringing up every objection because I'm like going into his brain thinking, what are all the reasons he would tell me no? So I was like, I know you guys would never say no. I know it's a super small podcast. We don't have a large following, but is there any way you could just give me a chance? I would love to come interview you. We'll come to you, make it super simple. 1 hour is all I ask. I'll make it super duper easy. We'll come to you. We'll be in and out in an hour. And before you tell me no, I promise you, we'll do a great job, and you'll look back and love it. And he goes, you got a card? And I don't know how the hell I had a business card. I don't know what business I even had at the time. But I had a card. Actually, I'll show you guys the card. But I had a card, literally one card in my pocket. I don't know how it was. I was like, when you pretend? You're like, oh, yeah, let me see. Somehow I had one. One.
God,
that was fate.
One. Mm-hmm. And I was like, yeah. So I gave it to him. And he was like, I remember he looked at it and he was like, all right, man, I'll give you an interview. Just like that. He was like, get in touch with my assistant. Here's her number. We exchanged a contact. Fast forward a month later, I had the most watched interview with Grant Cardone in the whole world.
That is amazing.
Crazy.
Now, okay, so what advice
It's crazy.
would you give someone that is looking to start a podcast?
Mm-hmm.
And 2, you are known as the podcast king, right?
Thank you.
And you have a secret, you have a strategy
Mm-hmm.
on how to land high-profile guests.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't mind sharing that with our audience.
Yes.
Your strategy.
Okay, here we go. The secrets.
The secret,
Some
man.
juice right here.
Yeah. So
Yep.
this is
And it actually works, guys.
Here we are today. This is a visual manifestation of.
I must say that I did pull that on you too, huh?
Yes. Yes, you did. But hey, we're here. You guys made it happen.
How to do it.
They used my material on me. God damn it. Yeah, so it really depends, at what stage you're at in the process. But it comes down to probably 3 things. Number 1 is elegant communication, right? When you talk to them, don't talk to them as somebody that's like, one of the biggest mistakes I made in the beginning is when I would try to interview people, I would say like my whole life story.
Right.
Hey, my name's Omar. I have a podcast called The Passionate Few. I'm on a mission to inspire people and da-da-da-da-da-da, and I know this, da-da-da-da, blah, 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 and you inspired me so much, and I would love to tell your story for 1 hour, and can you come interview it? Word vomit.
Right.
What's much more effective is, hey, hey, blah, blah, blah. My name's Omar. I'm the creator of this podcast. Big fan of what you've done, and da-da-da-da. Wondering who would be the best person to talk to set up a 1 hour interview on your schedule and see if it would be a good fit. Right? So see how that communication, number 1, it's clear. Number 2, it's effective. And number 3, it ends with a specific question. Right? Most people at the end, most people most people don't want to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Most people don't want to do shit. So when you send an email, it's like, oh God, what does this person want? And now when these are rich and famous and successful people, they get fan mail every day. I love you, you're amazing, da-da-da. So they're tired of that shit. But if you say, hey, boom, boom, bullet point. Hey, my name is da-da-da, creator of da-da-da, would love to share your story, big fan of da-da-da. And you end with a specific question. See, most people, when they read emails, don't remember anything but the last sentence. So one of the most powerful things you can do in reaching out to high-profile guests, and I teach people this in my coaching programs, and if you click the link below, you guys can check out my high-ticket podcast accelerator, which is a course where I share all the step-by-step systems with you guys on how to go from 0 to make your podcast happen, whether virtually or in person. You guys can check that out in the description below. But one thing I share is that if you end with a specific question, you create the opportunity for them to literally make it easy. Because then instead of saying, oh, hey, I want to interview for my podcast, and they go, who? They're going to respond and go, who are you? Da da da. They have all these questions. You have to make it easy in the person's mind, and the way you make it easy is by asking a simple question. So, who's the best person to talk to set up this interview? So they'll go, oh, talk to my assistant Amanda. Boom. And now when you reach out to Amanda, Hey, Amanda will have more time with you. Amanda, you can tell her your life story. Hey, Amanda. I talked to Grant Cardone. Say it's Grant Cardone. Hey, Amanda, I talked to Grant Cardone, and he mentioned that you would be the best person to talk to get this on the schedule. Just wondering, what would be the best way to set this up on the schedule next week between Tuesday and Thursday? Are you the right person to talk to? Thanks so much. Appreciate you in advance. Here's my number. Right? So now you're just moving steps. The whole key to anything in sales, in life, in business, you can't guarantee anything. All you can do is maximize the odds. And you maximize the odds with clarity, being concise, and just moving to the next step, the next step, the next step. And most of the time what I found with big people is they're actually a lot easier to get in touch with than smaller people. I've had authors that are like not that well known and ask me to pay them $500 or be like, oh, how many subscribers do you have? I'm like, pfft. Like, bro, I've interviewed billionaire John Paul DeJoria. I've interviewed like billionaire, like, you ain't nothing.
You gotta be paying me.
Yeah, you ain't nothing because you wrote a book. You know what I mean? I say a little bit of that, you know, tongue in cheek, but you know, a lot of times big people, if you just have the confidence, it's kind of like dating, right? People assume like, oh, that girl would never date me or that guy would never date me, but it's like if you don't try, you'll never know. Yep. And one thing I realized with big people, it's like if you just have the confidence to assume you belong there, then you do. Mm-hmm. I'm a broke, random, lost, high kid from Walnut, California. We were just at Tariq Al-Musa's house from HGTV, and Tariq was like, yeah, dude, I've seen some of your stuff. I don't know if it's true or not, but he's like, hey, dude, I've seen some of your stuff. To think that this big reality dude has seen my show, that was all it's crazy. But because I assumed the role day after day after day after day after day, and literally, and this is one thing I joke about, like, like even you guys, like I just assumed this was my job. I literally just woke up one day and I was like, oh, I'm going to interview people for a living.
And you were consistent.
And I was consistent. And somehow the universe was like, okay, fine, I guess, yeah, sure. You know.
It worked in your favor.
It worked. And somehow money showed up, people showed up, opportunities showed up, sponsors showed up, an audience showed up, people showed up, fans showed up. I don't know how. But if you were just consistent because you believe in something, the world responds to certainty. Everybody responds to what everybody's looking for is certainty. That's why everybody says, hey, what do you think about these shoes? Hey, what do you think about this jacket? Even though you know you like it. Say you want to break up with someone, right? Or say you want to ask someone out. You look for reassurance. We all want reassurance. And I think when you build the muscle of reassuring yourself, the universe responds to that. People like that. It's the reason that we built the show. It's the reason that you guys came to my seminar. Think about this. Had I not had the guts to create the show, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to connect with you guys. Had that not happened, we wouldn't be in this room right now.
Yeah, none of this would have happened.
Think about the ripple effect that happens when you take imperfect action on your dreams. So,
absolutely.
So part of being successful in podcasting is coming from that narrative, being effective, and just being consistent through the rejection. Sooner or later, things will work.
And Omar, I know things are gonna work so much for you. I know you've already tackled so many interviews, and I know on your bucket list, Tony Robbins.
That's right.
Oprah
he's coming
Winfrey.
On the show soon. Oprah Winfrey. That's right.
What happens,
Jordan, right?
Michael Jordan?
Jordan, yeah, she remembers.
But Omar, what happens after you interview them?
What's next? Like,
What's next?
What happens, just to piggyback off his question,
Piggy butt.
what happens after that? Like, you're going to reach that milestone, and then what?
Yeah, it's funny. A lot of people ask me, and I say, Omar, what's your plans after? What do you want to do? You know, to be honest, I love what I do so much. It's like asking Kobe, hey, what do you want to do when you're done with basketball? I don't know. I don't know. At the moment, I can tell you that I love it beyond human explanation. I think the audience know that. I think my fans know that. But I just love to do it. And since I was a kid, I was always that kid. Ask my mom and dad. They were probably sick of me asking so many questions. But I was always that kid. Well, what about this? Well, why is this there? Well, why is this?
Very inquisitive.
Why is it? Yeah, always.
Yeah.
Always. You know, and to this day, I'm fascinated by people's story. Fascinated. Oh, you were in the service? Oh, really? What was your breakup? So, I mean, to this day, I have just as entertaining conversations with some of the wealthiest people on the planet as I do with a janitor or a pizza guy. Because I believe that inside of all of us, everyone has a story.
Yeah.
You mentioned in the beginning,
absolutely. My
mission with the show is to humanize greatness one story at a time. I literally believe that the answers are everywhere. I can't tell you how many times I've been on an airplane or in a car or in some place and I ask somebody next to me a question and it somehow answers the philosophical thing I've been wondering about in my life. Confirmation. Or I'm in a bookstore and I open a book randomly to a page that has a quote speaking to exactly what I've been worried about. I believe human beings are books. And I believe that I think most people have the curiosity. I think most people somewhere along the way, they don't want to be rude, so they don't ask questions, or they don't want to be impolite.
Or they play it safe.
They play it safe, and I think I understand the good intention they have. I just think the challenge with not expressing what's inside of you, there's a quote by Les Brown. He says, don't die with your music still inside of you. And so for me, my music are questions. There's nothing, it's funny. When in high school, I used to always do this thing where I would joke around with people, and I would like pretend to sign autographs, sign autographs, or people would ask me questions and I'd pretend I'm in an interview. And I used to write down, like, it sounds egotistical, but I used to write down when I started the podcast, like, Omar is the greatest interviewer on the planet. He has the best interviews ever. And I know it sounds egotistical, whatever, but I loved it so much that I wanted to earn that. And now when I look at the comments on YouTube, there's thousands of them. Oh my God, great question. So to think that those ideas have now manifested into reality blows my mind. And
The
so to
power
answer
of
your
imagination.
Yep.
you guys say what's next. I just look at it, the next interview. I just love it so much. We built a great digital business around it that's growing and thriving. I just want to keep inspiring more and more people. I want to keep interviewing more and more people. I just love it. So I guess until my vocal cords go out or God takes my life, I'll be doing these interviews as long as humanly possible, man. I just love to do it. To me, it was never out. People say, I used to have this expression. I said, if I wouldn't do it for free, I wouldn't do it for a fee. And when I look back on my story, dude, I was so broke. I was borrowing so much money from my parents, friends, maxing out credit cards, like going in debt. I just believed it didn't make logical sense. I remember thinking at one point, like, holy fuck, dude, you're $30,000 in debt. You're gonna build a business interviewing people who are rejecting you when you're a nobody. What the fuck? That doesn't make any sense. But something in me just was like, no, just go, just go. The money will figure itself out. Things will work out. Just go. And thank God I listened to that voice, and here we are today.
Absolutely. Omar, here at the UnBreakables studio, we have a tradition.
Yes.
It is a magical UnBreakables podcast deck.
I'm scared now.
We have 2 deep questions that the deck wants to ask you.
Let's do
So
it.
remember, we are not asking you. The deck is asking.
The deck is asking you.
Okay.
The deck is at how many questions?
You can pick 2.
2.
Let's do 3.
You want to do 3? Okay.
Better.
Let's do 3. Oh, okay.
Select them.
Shit.
Pick
Ooh.
one.
Oh, okay. Now? Okay.
And then you
Boom.
can just say one at a time.
Okay. And then I want to pick the bottom one here. I like to always help the underdogs.
First question.
Ooh. Ooh. What energized you today? That was the first question. What energized me today is for the first time being able to take my mom to an interview live, and it being somebody that she, has seen on television. That's pretty surreal, because they're not so into like personal development, mindset, and stories and stuff. They have their own interests and other stuff. But to see her, like, excited about something that I'm doing for the first time in a long time. And it's, HGTV. I love Flip or Flop. I've never seen my mom do so much makeup and get ready and everything, So to see her that excited, that energized me today, feels
Rewarding,
good.
right?
Feels good that after all the pot I smoked and money of hers I spent,
It finally paid off.
it finally paid off. Yeah. And then the next question is, what are you working on achieving right now? What am I working on achieving right now? Maybe mental sanity. Because, it can get overwhelming. It's not all wonderful. There's a lot of, you make more money, there's more responsibilities, there's more people to pay, there's taxes
Absolutely.
and then you got to grow the business, and then everybody's pulling at you. You don't know who's into you because of your, success or whatever versus who's a genuine friend. It's very overwhelming. I'm not the most organized dude. I'm not the most punctual or on time dude, and so there's a lot of people.
A lot of challenges.
You get
right?
imposter syndrome. Because you have all these challenges, whatever, but then people, think you have it all together. You're making all this money. You have this stuff, and so it's challenging because it's like the highs are high, and the lows are low, and it's tough. It's tough to balance success in one world when you might be having a personal thing in another that you don't really share with people. So that roller coaster of emotion is. I just hired a therapist, one of the best investments. I should have done it years ago.
Was that hard for you, like, to become vulnerable?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, you know, because I've never really I've always craved love in a way that I felt most people didn't give it to me. Unfortunately, I don't know, for whatever reason. Maybe I'm an intense weirdo. I don't know, but I always craved love and intellectual stimulation, and I never got it anybody I dated. I never got it in friends. I didn't really get it the way I would have liked to in a lot of areas growing up. So I always had that, like I have stuff inside me that nobody cares about. So getting my therapist is amazing. She cares, and like she's not judging me. You know, I have to pay her, but you know, it's I love it. Therapy's helped me a lot. It helps me really relax, decompress, let out what's real. And a lot of times when you vent, you hear your thoughts and you're like, oh, why was I stressing about that? And when you articulate it outside of your brain, it looks a lot more silly than when it's inside. So that's helped me a lot. So that's one thing I'm working on, is keeping it all balanced, you know, keeping sane.
Amazing.
And then the last question, what are your thoughts on failure?
Ooh.
That's a good one. Let me drink some water. Let me ask you guys, what are your thoughts on failure?
I think every failure is a lesson. You know, I like you said, oftentimes we seek permission, and because we have that doubt and we have all these what ifs, if this doesn't go wrong or if this doesn't go right, but at the end of the day, it's all growth. And I mean, I'm just happy to be here. You know, every failure, it's a lesson.
It's definitely a lesson. I actually have that tattooed. Never a failure, always a lesson. Shout out Rihanna. No.
We gotta get a passionate few tattoos.
No, but for me in particular, I embrace failure. I feel like, you know, just with the little that you do know about our upbringing, I feel like everything we've been through, I embrace it. And I feel accustomed to pain, that if I'm not feeling pain or failure, then something's wrong.
Dangerous,
So,
but I hear you, yeah.
But for me, I feel like failure is what's going to get me forward. And I learn from it every step of the way.
Yeah, that's awesome. You know, for me, I can relate to you on that one, for sure, Jess. My thoughts on failure, you know, I'm a little bit pseudoscience on it. So one thing I realized early on during one of my meditations years ago was that words are social constructs. Words are made up. Words are made up. They're not real. Like the words me and you are speaking, the language, it's made up. It was made up by an imperfect person who doesn't know what the hell they're doing. But over time, I think society has assumed that words are the most accurate way to represent what's inside. And if anybody knows me, I'm one of the most precise, accurate communicators ever. I firmly believe that if you're not communicating accurately with yourself, you're just living a vague, half-assed life. And I think, unfortunately, most people do. So I just want to preface my answer with that. I believe failure is just a word. It's just a word. It just means that on your attempt to do something, you didn't get what you intended to get. But I think that in that process, kind of like, you know, lifting a weight, you tear the muscle, right? You tear the muscle. And through that tear, and through all the tears of failure and rejection and doubt and insecurity, if you keep pushing, you build a callus, and you get a little stronger, a little smarter, a little sharper, a little more careful, a little more articulate, a little more vulnerable, a little more honest, a little more loving, a little bit. And so I think it shapes you and molds you as long as, and I made this mistake a lot, as long as you don't beat up on yourself, right? It'd be like lifting a weight and you tear the muscle and be like, man, fuck the gym, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Right? Versus somebody who lifts and goes, oh, okay, the tear's part of the muscle, let me just stay calm. And another analogy that I love for failure and rejection is kind of like stretching, right? I believe that success in life and business is really stretching. Think about how many times have you reached down and touched your toes, and you're like, oh, can't go any further, that's where it is, right? Do you stop there, or do you breathe, right? Think about this, just breathe, just, let me stretch a little further. Okay, let me breathe some more, let me stretch a little further. Pretty soon, a couple of calm, relaxed breaths, you're stretching way further than before. Or you can stretch and go, ow, fuck, that hurt, man, fuck, I'm not gonna stretch again, my back, I'm getting older, fuck my hip, you know, whatever it is. So I think that how you approach constructs in advance really helps. So for me, I don't look at things as failure, I just look at things not going as planned, but I just know clearly at this stage that if you try something else and something else and something else, things will work. You know, you asked about Patrick Bet-David earlier. I was relentless for a year. Tony Robbins, this is great. I've never shared this on a podcast before. I don't know how you guys do this. I guess you guys are the UnBreakables. You broke me. And for Tony, it's been like 2.5 years now that I've been trying to get Tony since day one. Till this day, I know every assistant, videographer, photographer, staff member, everybody in internal at the Tony Robbins Company knows my name, has seen my email, has been annoyed by me, has reported me.
You even spoke to his wife, right?
I even spoke to his wife. I'm relentless. Tony to me is like, oh, like the ultimate, right? So, yeah, the funny thing about Tony is, fuck it, I'll tell you guys. So he has a publicist at this company who runs all his stuff, like his bookings. For the last 2 years, there's not a single holiday where that publicist has not got a box of C's candies from me.
Wow. Is that his favorite, C's?
Birthday cards. It's a she, yeah.
You guys taking notes of that?
The publicist, I get her birthday cards, Christmas, how's the family. I'm checking in on her. She is the most important person in my universe. I want to make sure she's taken care of, because if you take care of the gatekeepers, they'll take care of you. You know?
That's something that we did learn from you. Gatekeepers are key.
Yes, and also the other thing for podcasters or anything, play the long game. Play the long game. Be patient. Like even now, like we still get rejections because we play it. You know, I mean, we're trying to get presidents, for God's sake. So you're gonna get rejections.
Of course.
I just stay calm. I know President Obama could take 4 years, could take
happen.
5 years, but I know if I just stay calm, play the long game, things will happen. So I would encourage you guys to stay cool. If you get a rejection, just say in anything, say, okay, cool, no problem. Would it be okay if I follow up in a month, right, or 2 months, or next year? All you need to get is that if people like you, okay, if people like you, even if they reject you, they will always give you another chance at bat. And that's all you could ever ask for in life or business, just another chance at bat. You keep swinging, sooner or later you'll hit a home run.
Awesome.
That is powerful. And one more thing. What does a typical day look like for you?
Insanity.
When you're not hosting interviews? Because we only see what we see on social media. But what is it? 2 questions actually. What does a typical day look like for you? And
what are your thoughts on mentorship?
Yes.
So first question is my average day. First thing I do when I wake up every day, I wish it wasn't check my phone, but first thing I do every day is I read fan mail. It just makes me feel good. So I just go through fan mail or fan emails or like comments on YouTube. So it just feels good. Who am I inspiring today? You know. So I go through fan mail first thing. Second thing is I check on revenue, digital revenue. I check on products, YouTube revenue, and just check on the money. After that, I usually have a slew of like 22 text messages from my team. Usually Kochi has some sort of update on YouTube. Shout out Kochi, Kenny Kanochi, he's the man. So Kochi will be like, hey, you know, he's the head of production stuff. So he manages everything from our YouTube channel to like scheduling stuff to our behind the scenes. So I'll check in with Kochi on everything we got going on that week, any upcoming stuff, content release on the calendar, go over any other thing. And then usually right after that, I put out fires. There's always fires. Stuff with a client, stuff with money, stuff with legal, stuff with, you know, so usually put out fires. After that, hit the gym, go swim if I didn't earlier in the morning. And then after that, I really just, there's miscellaneous stuff that pop out. I check in with my team a lot. If we have an interview, Joyce, our amazing driver, she's amazing, served for 20 years. Shout out Joyce, she's amazing. Joyce will usually come pick us up. I'll usually be 20 minutes late. And she's so nice. She always is talking about her awesome puppies. And so I'll hop in there, and then we're either going to film content for YouTube, or we're working on a course, or we're filming stuff for an upcoming project we have coming out, or I'm collaborating with other people, or I'll work on a funnel for digital products. So it just kind of depends. Every day is different.
But busy.
Yeah, the way I put it is I'm always busy, but I'm always playing. You know, and I definitely work 7 days a week. But if you see me, you wouldn't know it.
Yeah, you're getting paid to play.
I'm getting paid to play. Yeah. Great way to put it. And there's a quote, I love it. I haven't memorized it, but it's something along the lines of like, the master in the art of living is one who makes no distinction between his work and his play. He knows what he's doing, and to everyone else, they wonder bewildered, what is he doing? And
I like that.
That's deep.
And to me, I love that. I love the fact of like, people are like, how's he making money? How's he interviewing these people? I feel like, you know, me and my team are like magicians. You're like, what? How did he do that? How did he do this? And, you know, we're just frolicking about the country, just interviewing all these amazing people, you know. So I get a big kick out of that, you know. But that's what the average day is like. And then In the evenings, unwind, a lot of personal development. I'll read a book, and then usually people will call me with problems, or I talk to my coaching clients. I have coaching clients that I talk to and serve, so I'll serve them. It's pretty much a normal day. Every day is pretty different, but that's the way I like it.
That's awesome. And your thoughts on mentorship?
Thoughts on mentorship. A lot of people are scared to invest in coaches. A lot of people have stigmas about, oh, why do you have a coach? Like, oh, you know, but to me, coaches have changed my life. Coaching has changed my life. You know, I mean, like, think about it this way. Had I not invested that couple $100 in Dave Thorpe when I was broke, right? The average person would go, dude, you're broke.
Yeah.
Why would you hire a coach when you're broke? You're not making any sense. Save some money. Do what's logically right? Save some money, right? The challenge is that the universe doesn't respond to logic. It responds to inspiration. And so just by following my inspiration and investing in a coach, it changed my life. That couple $100 turned into hundreds of thousands of dollars, impacting millions of people. And so it was scary because it was almost everything I had, but I knew that if I wanted to condense time, mentors allow you to condense time. And let me put it this way. Imagine how much, this is what I always think, and you know, I coach people. I have my coaching programs, and I have my own coaches, and my coaches have coaches. But the way I think of it is like, you know what it will cost you to invest in a coach, right? Think about what it will cost you to not invest in a coach. Ooh. Think about it. Think about it. Think what it will cost. Think about what it would. It cost me $700 for this 1 hour session that changed my life, right? Took me on this trajectory of the passion of you. Imagine if I kept that $700 and did it myself.
Take you longer.
Try to start my podcast. Think about how many thousands of dollars I would have wasted, how many people I would have got burned by, how many months, how many years. Maybe I would have even quit because I didn't know how. But because I put it in there and I put pressure on myself, you know, no pressure, no diamond. And so for me, mentors have allowed me to condense decades into days and save a hell of a lot of time. And mentorship is all about time. Because money you can always get back. Money replenishes itself. Time doesn't. And money will always come back. Time won't. And the question is, when the money comes back, who will you be?
Beautiful. And for everyone at home, if you are looking for a mentor, Omar Elattar, you can find him on Instagram at Omar the Rockstar. He is a great
Omar_the Rockstar. Yeah.
Omar _ the Rockstar. He is a great mentor. He helped us create all of this right here. He allowed us to bring this to fruition, all through imperfect action, seeking wisdom everywhere.
I'm honored.
And if you also are looking for capital, but you don't have the means, and you really have a dream, but capital is stopping you, Think Big, Work Small is also a great mastermind. He's doing amazing things with David Albanese. So follow him at Think Big, Work Small. He has a YouTube channel. He has Facebook, LinkedIn, and that's Think Big, Work Small.
Yes. Now, Omar, before we wrap things up,
I love it. I love questions.
What is one new thing that we don't know about you that you've never shared on YouTube or any of your other podcasts that you're willing to share today? Whether it's vulnerable, just something that you want to let out on this platform. What would it be?
Great. So just list my insecurities like that to the world.
Hey, it's a vulnerable state right now.
I'm horrible at time management. Horrific at time management. I am probably the most unorganized person you have ever met or will ever meet. I delegate the shit out of everything. I believe very much in, I've had mentors. Shout out to Bedros Koulian. Bedros has become a great mentor to me, and one thing he taught me was that there's this illusion. That you have to do things yourself, right? Or that don't waste your money on that, right? But for me, I've always believed that if I focus on my zone of genius and I allow other people to focus on their zones of genius, you can build something powerful. In the same way you guys have a setup. Till this day, I don't even know how to turn on a camera. You can ask Joyce. I barely drive myself anywhere. My video people do my video, YouTube video. They're genius at that. Kevin is a genius at audio. He does audio. I focus on my four core vital functions, and only those, and I delegate the rest. And I've had plenty of people say, "What are you doing? Why do you waste money?" But to me, if I put people in place, I can. Dr. John DeMartini, who's become a newfound mentor to me, he says, if you don't fill your day with high priority actions that inspire you, then by default, your day will fill up with low priority actions that don't. And so I believe very much that if you can automate your life to do most of the things that inspire you, you can have your cake, eat it too, inspire millions of people, and make a hell of a lot of money in the process and live your dream. So
Well said,
that to
man.
me
Well
was
said,
what it's
my
all
man.
about.
That was deep.
Omar, we just want to say thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come to the
Yes.
UnBreakables studio here in Long Beach, California.
Honored to be here, guys.
No, we really, really appreciate it, man. And everything that we've learned from you, it's just, we want to pay that forward.
I love it.
And we've learned many things, you know. Top 3 things for us is the power of momentum, acting on imperfect action,
Yes.
and wisdom is everywhere.
I love it.
And, you know, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you so much. You are episode 13.
Lucky number 13.
Lucky number, and we appreciate it, man. And if you can, tell our audience and your audience
Yes.
how they can contact you and
Yes.
also shine light on the High Ticket podcast
Awesome.
program.
Yeah, so first of all, I'm honored to be here. And right after I do the plug here, I want to ask you guys each one question because I'm an interviewer, right? That's what I do.
in
But
your
I just
blood.
want to say, if for any of you guys who enjoyed the podcast, feel free to hit me up. Let GiftThePoet and Jessica know how this interview inspired them or any of the interviews have touched you. If you guys were touched by my story, I want to encourage you guys to realize that you can do it too. That if you have a dream inside you, if you have a goal, if you have something inside of you, it's inside of you for a reason. No matter your age, your sexual preference, your gender, whatever it is, that gift wouldn't have been placed inside of you unless you were meant to do it. And the world needs what you have, so don't be selfish and keep it to yourself. You were brought to watch this or listen to this for a reason, so trust that reason and don't betray your own path. You're meant for great things. If you want to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram at Omar_the_Rockstar. If you're interested in joining my High Ticket Podcast Accelerator, it's an awesome academy where we have a bunch of aspiring podcasters. It's a course. Price is always going up, but you guys can check it out at the link here and in the description below. If you guys are listening to this or watching this on YouTube, it's called the High Ticket Podcast Accelerator. I basically help aspiring podcasters start, grow, and monetize their own profitable podcasts while also booking the guests of their dreams. So if something in this interview spoke to you and there's this thing inside of you that wants to take action, I encourage you guys to join the class, sign up for it. There's a 100% 30-day money-back guarantee, and I think you guys will really enjoy it. I also have coaching programs. If you guys are interested in inquiring, you can just message me at Omar_the_Rockstar on Instagram.
Yes, and we're actually in that too, so we can validate it and we attest to it. It works. And thank you guys so much. You can find us at on our website at www.theunbreakablespodcast.com and on Instagram at theunbreakablespodcast. Gift.
Yeah, of course. Follow myself at _GiftThePoet. You can follow us on Facebook at JMergs and GiftThePoet on Facebook. And you got to lay it on us, man. You got 2 questions for us. Let's hear them.
Let's go. All right, let's go. All right. So I'll ask one question, but to both of you guys, okay? But you guys can't be like, oh yeah, what she said. All right. So my question is, you guys have done 13 interviews so far.
Yes.
What's been the most surprising thing that you've learned so far that you're like, oh shit, really? I never thought about that. From all the people you've interviewed, what have been some like aha moments for you?
Well, for me in particular, I feel like there's 2 things in common that I've realized. Everybody has experienced failure, and everybody had faith. So for me, those are the 2 common things that I've learned. I've also realized is, like you mentioned earlier, is all these people that we've interviewed, whether high profile or not, they're no different. And
I
that
love
for
that.
me is just, damn, like it.
They're just
really,
skin and
it's
bones,
skin
just like
bones,
me
just
and
like
you.
me and you.
That's right.
And it's
Skin,
just,
bones, and insecurities.
Yeah, just going against the grain, you know, like you said, building that confidence, that layer, and reaching out and being able to network, connect, build relationships. And for us, it's just now it's like, how do we raise that bar even higher? But it definitely has opened up our minds and that capacity to, okay, what's next? And just learning and growing.
Powerful.
Yeah, out of all the 13 guests, there's 2 commonalities with the question that you just asked. The first commonality is that every single person was nervous. And I did not expect that. They showed a little nervousness in a certain way. And I was just surprised by that. I was like, wow, even they get nervous. So it made me feel a little better about myself. This is our first time doing a podcast. And number 2, I would say, is everyone has a hunger to serve. You know, they always want to serve, and they always want to help out, and they always give value before they receive. So that's something that I've been trying to do daily.
Yes.
And it's really, really making a 360 in my life. It's making me feel more fulfilled. Even though I'm giving a lot, giving up myself, I feel more fulfilled. So I would say that.
That's beautiful.
Yeah,
and I want to encourage you guys to remember to appreciate these days, because you guys are siblings.
Yes.
When I started, I was alone. I mean, you know, it was really rough. I want to encourage you guys to really appreciate the fact that time will fly, and one day people will look at you guys and have you guys on their podcast. And I want you guys to appreciate these moments because it will fly by before you know it. Okay?
I do happen to see that just because we are getting interviews just like that, and I'm like, sometimes it happens too fast where you can't really take a breath.
I know, totally know what you mean.
It's one of those things, like, sometimes I just gotta take it easy, reflect, and that's why I told him, like, even after every episode, something that we want to start implementing is what we've learned after every episode.
Powerful.
And really appreciating and just sitting in a moment of gratitude, because the last thing we want to do is take it for granted. And it's just realizing we came so far in just less than 1 month. And we just launched on the 23rd of last month.
Yeah,
that's crazy. You guys literally came to our
in July.
To our seminar
July,
at the end of June.
So end of June, we went to your seminar, the Passionate Few.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah, that's right.
We moved in here July 1st. We had the studio set up in 1 week. And then we had our first interview July 18th.
Wow,
and
crazy.
the first interview with Miguel, it was mobile. We didn't have equipment. We didn't have labs. We didn't have anything. But somehow...
That's the one that I set up for you guys at the seminar,
so
right?
Actually, it was...
Yeah, tell the story.
We just want to, like...
Yeah.
No,
sorry, guys. The podcast is not over.
It is not over. No. But I'm going to be real with you. Like I told you, up until your show, I literally, in my bag, I have a 23-page script, the plan from start to finish to execution, the whole nine. Written, bullet point, whatever. And I just plan. But it's like taking into action, I was like, shit. I'm scared. I'm the type that I can't hear my own voice. That's why I was very surprised what you said. Went to your mastermind. The moment you called us up on stage to kind of share our story, like I said, I love people, I love communicating, I love talking, especially what I'm passionate about. And
Passionate
for the first time I was not nervous. Remember we had that conversation?
Yeah.
And then the second day when you called us up, hey, are you guys ready to do a cold call? Anybody. Nobody took advantage of that opportunity. We looked at each other. We said, Miguel, right? Went up there. And I'm not going to lie, I was scared shitless. Damn, what are we going to do?
Me too. I was like, fuck, am I going to actually get him an interview? The whole audience watching, I'm like, shit.
He set up the call.
Live in front of the audience.
Literally live in front of the audience. Got Miguel on the phone. Locked it in, and mind you, everything that we learned that weekend, we implemented within that call. Within 5 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Landon Miguel Aguilar from South Main, July 18th, which was 2 weeks later?
Yeah.
Roughly. And yeah, we were scared. Our first interview, we had no lab mics, and we were trying to make it easy, professional, efficient. Hit up Kev, helped us out a big bunch with, recommendations. And from there, just started booking,
wow.
acting on the power of imperfect action. And here we are.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Imperfect action has made a lot of people a lot of money.
Yeah, but it's just so simple after that. Like, it was just so
you realize
clear.
the big secret is that there is no secret.
Not at all.
You're just I don't care who it is, that you're the biggest whatever. When you meet them, they're just they don't know where they want to eat. They're like, they don't know what they should wear. They're just like me and you. The difference is that they focus on one thing over a sustained period of time. And if you do that, sooner or later the floodgates open. And most people quit before that, but the passionate few don't. So,
Yeah.
Awesome, guys.
Thank you, man. We appreciate it. And
Thank you, guys.
Again,
Honored to be here. Thank you guys
Thank you
again.
so
Thank
much,
you, GiftThePoet. Thank you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed.
Yes. We're out, guys.
We are out.
Unbreakable. 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 Unbreakable.